this? Just one day ahead of National Signing Day, we're already starting to see some movement in the high school ranks, including potentially Jared Curtis, one of the top quarterbacks in the class of 2026, initially committed to Georgia. And right now we're seeing he's potentially flipping to Vanderbilt, according to our partners over at 24/7 Sports. Of course, going to be a very highly touted recruit for Vanderbilt, a stellar junior season, over 2,800 yards, 4 touchdowns, just 3 interceptions, also rushed for 8 touchdowns as well. It's no surprise that every team in the country wanted him to be on their football team. It seems like it's going to be Vanderbilt inking the highest rated commit in the history of the program. But if we take a look at X, this is Jared Curtis's official X page, and he's saying, quote, "Don't know where all this is coming from. Haven't had a chance to talk to either school yet. I'll keep you posted." Well, we certainly don't have to wait for very long. National Signing Day is coming up very quickly. We've got quite a treat here at CBS Sports H crew. We've got our 24/7 Sports crew joining us, Director of Scouting Andrew Ivins, and we've also got National Recruiting Analyst Blair Angulo joining us. Guys, appreciate the time. I want to start the conversation right there. When it comes to Jared Curtis, there's a lot of noise. Thankfully, we don't have to wait too long to hear where he's going to go. But Blair, bring us up to speed with what you make of all of this noise.
It wouldn't be National Signing Day without a little bit of drama.
Right?
We always seem to get it at the finish line. You know, I think we're confident in the reporting. Our own Tom Loy has been out in the forefront of this ever since this started to happen, ever since the development started to unravel. He put in a crystal ball prediction for him to eventually flip to Vanderbilt. It sounds like that's the way it's trending. Sometimes the information gets out maybe a little earlier than expected, maybe leaked out a little bit or earlier than he wanted to, and I think that's kind of what we're dealing with. So maybe he's in a way saving face, but I think he was holding out and try to, you know, create some of the dramatics of National Signing Day. Unfortunately, in this modern era of a 24-hour news cycle, this kind of just where we're at with everything.
Can't keep secrets for very long in this industry.
Yeah, and look, I've been waiting. I've been saying it all recruiting cycle. Hey, when is one of these 5-star quarterbacks going to flip somewhere else? Because if you look at the past 3 years, we've seen these high-profile arms. Someone flip at the buzzer. 3 years ago, it was Dante Moore, who ended up going from Oregon to UCLA. Now he's back with the Ducks, has them in the college football playoff conversation. But 2 years ago, it was Dylan Raiola, right? And it was the same thing. Georgia at the buzzer, ends up at Nebraska. Last year, it was Bryce Underwood going from LSU to Michigan. And look, I said this when Tom first started reporting it about 5-6 weeks ago. This makes a ton of sense for Vanderbilt. They break through with Diego Pavia, you know, could come back for another season if he gets that eligibility waiver, you know, legal situation going on. But they want to stay in the national spotlight. And adding Jared Curtis, who is the most ready-to-play quarterback in this class of 2026, it makes a ton of sense. He goes to high school right there in Nashville. He can step in, and he can be a day-one starter. The path to playing time at Vanderbilt looks much easier than it does at Georgia, where Gunnar Stockton has come along. So my player comp for Mr. Jared Curtis is former Vanderbilt standout Jay Cutler. And if you think about it, we create a Mount Rushmore for Vanderbilt football. You can put Jay Cutler up there, you can put Diego Pavia, and then you can put Jared Curtis, and he hasn't even played a snap of football.
And then you can also put Clark Lee potentially up there as well. I mean, fellas, just 4 days ago, he gets the extension. You talk about Diego Pavia and just how much he has taken this program to the national ranks. And now, Blair, when you look at potentially bringing in another game-changing generational quarterback, what does that say about what Clark Lee is building right now at Vanderbilt?
We have to look at the trajectory of the program, right, and just the way that it's shooting up right now on the charts and the rankings, in the mix for a college football playoff spot earlier in the season. And this is kind of a level playing field now in the recruiting space, in the NIL era, where a player like Jared Curtis maybe would never even consider going to a place like Vanderbilt. Now there's been a lot of situations where you see a quarterback, especially of a caliber like him, who can go in there and make an impact. And he sees a defense that plays with that Clark Lee style. They're fast and and physical, and they're going to keep you in ball games. And when you're a quarterback who is potentially thinking about branding yourself, marketing yourself in your hometown, there's so many different selling points there that make this situation in particular make a ton of sense.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. Who would have thought Vanderbilt? We're talking Vanderbilt football 2025 being one of the best in the country and getting better. Andrew, I went to a guy who you said, and I quote, "I love this guy." We're looking at 4-star edge rusher Carter Gooden, potentially on flip watch here for UCLA. Why do you love him, and what are the expectations?
He's an explosive big man, right? I think he can work him up and down the line. He's an edge rusher. Is he an interior defensive lineman? I don't think it matters. And Carter Gooden, originally from Canada, 4-sport athlete growing up, played some hockey, played some basketball, played some volleyball. He's now going to school up in the New England area. Was actually the New England Defensive Lineman of the Year. This guy just creates penetration, right? He creates negative plays, and I think someone's getting a good one on Wednesday, right? And I dug back into the tape. I'm like, am I crazy here? I just see it with Carter Gooden. Reminds me of Akeem Messidor at Miami when the Hurricanes playing opposite of Ruben Bain there. Guy that someone is going to get it. Vanderbilt in good position, but Tennessee also involved with the UCLA commit. They just named a new head coach as well, so who knows? Carter Gooden certainly won a track on signing day.
Our guy Brian Doan has been doing a ton of heavy lifting on this recruitment. He's been on it since the beginning, and in speaking with him, he mentions the presence of what UCLA was able to do early on, offering a really nice NIL package to move across the country, to live in Los Angeles and be a featured defensive lineman in that core group. I think he's still considering that, especially now that there is some clarity. Bob Chesney being the next in line there to be the head coach in Westwood. An interesting one to watch, though, because whenever a committed prospect has an announcement to make, we have to kind of read between the tea leaves, so it does look like he's bound for the SEC.
All right, we'll keep our eye on it. Let's go to the Big Ten. And talk about Ohio State, because when we think about the Buckeyes, we think about them typically dominating the recruiting classes, getting the pick of the litter, so to speak. But 3 guys coming out of modern day, 3 wide receivers too, especially when you look at it that way, Blair, potentially flipping here. Why, I guess, is Ohio State losing steam when it comes to Chris Henry, Caden Dixon-Wyatt, and Jaden Ricketts?
Well, the 2 from modern day are the first 2 you mentioned, Chris Henry Jr. and Caden Dixon-Wyatt. I'll begin with Chris Henry Jr. first. He's a player that I think has continued to, in a way, resonate with recruiting fan bases because of the name, because he's a 5-star prospect now in the 24/7 Sports rankings. He was injured last year, was a bit out of the spotlight, but returned this year and completely blew up. And you look up, and all of a sudden the Oregons are calling again, the USCs are calling again. The Ducks have probably been the most aggressive, and they've pushed for him the most down the stretch here. I still think, though, that this seems like a leverage play. This seems like we're talking about an NIL structure where Ohio State will have to either match something that's going to happen, or they're going to have to hang on to him some way, somehow. It's hard for me to envision him ending up anywhere else right now. With Caden Dixon-Wyatt, it's a completely different story, because right now it does seem like USC has all the buzz. They have all the momentum. And when you think about a prospect locally who's a pass catcher, and they're trying to replace the production of a Mekhi Lemon, of a Jacoby Lane, then you see the instant production of a true freshman like Tanu Kynes in a Lincoln Riley offense. There's a lot of attractive traits in that program that are potentially pushing him to stay closer to home, even though Ohio State has been wide receiver U here for the most recent times.
Zone 6. I think this is going to be the biggest storyline on Wednesday as we get into it. The Jared Curtis news is already out there. What happens with these 2 wide receivers, Brian Hartline, Ryan Day? They have essentially drafted at this position, but it's a changing landscape when it comes to college football recruiting. USC is looking to become the first non-SEC school to sign a #1 ranked class. They'd love to add Caden Dixon-Wyatt to the fold. It reminds me a lot of Carnell Tate, right? And the NFL, Jeremiah Smith, Buckeyes got him for 1 more year, but they're going to have to find some of these other receivers. The other one, Jaden Ricketts, he's looking at West Virginia, who's also involved with Chris Henry, and they're throwing around a lot of money here at the 11th hour.
It's so crazy to hear you guys speaking just regular terms. We're throwing out money to get these guys to go. It has changed a lot since I played college soccer a few years ago. I wish that maybe I was a little younger, but that's okay. Let's stick with the 4-star. We're going to talk about a safety in Matt Sieg, and you want to talk about the James Franklin effect already showing. There's a couple of guys who want to follow James Franklin, Matt Sieg being one of them. Talk to me about this kid and how he could be a game breaker potentially at Virginia Tech now.
Well, he's an OKG at 24/7 Sports, our kind of guy, right? And he has set a ton of records there in the WIPAL in Pittsburgh, one of the toughest leagues in America. Set records that are broken, once held by Tyler Boyd. And high school quarterback, he's going to play safety at the next level. Hard-nosed football player, right? Loves physicality and committed to Penn State very early in the recruiting process. And, you know, as James Franklin was looking for his next place, that opened the door for Notre Dame to get involved. That opened the door for Indiana, right? We always talk about Kurt Sandetti. He's not doing it with a bunch of 4- and 5-star recruits. He's doing it with guys that are under the radar. So the fact that they have the seat at the table with Matt Sieg talks about what they've been able to do over the past year in those college football playoff appearances. But it sounds like Blair, you know, Virginia Tech's the team to watch here.
Yeah, Pitt is also in the mix, and when you think about a program that's just 35 minutes down from where he plays his high school football there in McDonald, Pennsylvania, you get the hometown appeal. But Virginia Tech and what they've been able to do since James Franklin arrived there 2 weeks ago has been nothing short of amazing, because they were outside the top 100 in the national team recruiting rankings. Now they've risen up to 32 heading into signing day. They only had 8 commitments. Now they're approaching 20 commitments, and a lot of the backbone through the efforts of trying to flip and trying to raid that Penn State recruiting class. Matt Sieg would. And it's interesting, we were talking about it upstairs, the fact that James Franklin and what he's going to be able to do at Virginia Tech to pull some of these Big Ten commits that are going to be playing down in the ACC, which in a way is viewed maybe as an inferior conference nationally, but that just shows the level of relationships he's able to build, the connection that staff has had with these recruits, and these are players that believe in his vision and what he's going to be able to accomplish with the Hokies.
It seems like it's kind of already trending in that way too, where he's generating traction as well, maybe for some cool names. I remember doing the signing day of Faison. Is it Faison Brandon? And I really enjoyed his name. We've got a guy named Fat Rat Brown following James Franklin. I mean, tell me about this guy and some of the names you're excited to see.
Hey, name, image, and likeness, right? There in Blacksburg, we can need a Fat Rat T-shirt, maybe.
Gotta have one.
I don't know. They can come up with some brand deals there. We also had Big Nuck commit to Tennessee today, a defensive lineman that they added. I think Tennessee's going to have a really good Wednesday as well. We mentioned them with Carter Gooden. Jordan Carter's another guy out there. Josh Heupel on the ball is getting it done.
You like the name?
And think about some of the freshmen, right, that we're seeing in college football. JKS, right? There's a KDW and Caden Dixon Wyatt. There's so many different layers now when you think about branding yourself, marketing yourself, and being a household name in college football, because these are going to be the stars of the future of the NFL. And it's been cool to kind of see some of these names pop up.
My favorite player I've ever covered ever is Kool-Aid McKinstry out of Alabama. He had the Kool-Aid NIL deal where him and the Kool-Aid man switched Twitter pages for a day. They could do so much with their name, image, and likeness, as you both pointed out. Fellas, this has been so good. A little preview for what's to come tomorrow when it comes to the chaos, which leads us to this. The 2025 National Signing Day. Our guys are going to begin coverage at 10 a.m. What excites you about tomorrow, guys? What are we looking forward to?
What happens with those wide receivers that are committed to Ohio State at the moment? And then Lane Kiffin and LSU, right? They've been knocking on the door of a lot of blue chip prospects. Who can he get in the boat? Talked all about on Monday the big package they have in terms of the budget and what they're going to be able to do. So LSU, Florida as well, and Auburn, you know, new coaches.
And we talked about Virginia Tech. There's a lot of craziness right now surrounding the coaching search at Penn State. And some rumors about BYU head coach Kalani Sitake. What's going to happen with that Cougars recruiting class, which right now is pacing for its best ever finish. They're top 20 in the country, and they've got a highly coveted quarterback, Ryder Lyons, who was considering the likes of Georgia and Oregon and USC and some of those blue blood programs. What is he going to do?
A lot of stuff. It starts at 10 a.m. on YouTube tomorrow.